This next video I'm going to share with you is frightening, yet has a clear answer. What the frightening piece is that this gentleman cannot explain how money works. Now, this gentleman is not just anybody. This is Biden's economic advisor, okay? And I'm going to roll the clip. You're going to see what happened. But at the end, I'm actually going to walk you through how I believe a $36 trillion deficit works and how all this kind of plays and is teed together. So with that, let's roll the clip, the frightening clip, and then we'll decode it.
The U.S. government can't go bankrupt because we can print our own money.
Okay. It obviously begs the question, why exactly are we borrowing in a currency that we print ourselves? I'm waiting for someone to stand up and say, why do we borrow our own currency in the first place?
Which is a good question. Like has a great answer, but so he doesn't know how to answer this question. It's pretty insane.
Well, I mean, again, some of this stuff gets, some of the language that some of the language and concepts are just confusing. I mean, the government definitely prints money, and it definitely lends that money, which is why the government definitely prints money, and then it lends that money by
it's like he's trying to figure it out as he goes.
Is that what they do?
Is that what they do? Sorry, I was talking about that. Let me go back a second. He asks, is that what they do?
Is that what they do? They sell bonds. Yeah, they sell bonds, right? Because they sell bonds and people buy the bonds and lend them the money. Yeah. So a lot of times,
it's like he just discovered the government sells bonds to raise money. That's how he's like, oh wow, I guess that's how it works. Yeah, that's right. This is the chair of the Council of Economic Advisors for President Biden. Okay, we'll keep going.
At least to my ear with MMT, the language and the concepts can be kind of unnecessarily confusing, but there is no question that the government prints money and then it uses that money to, yeah, I guess I can't really talk. I don't get it. I don't know what they're talking about, like, because it's like.
He just admits right there, it's like, I don't really get it. You know, like obviously you don't get it. But why are you the freaking chief economist for President Joe Biden? Gosh.
The government clearly prints money. It does it all the time, and it clearly borrows. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this debt and deficit conversation. So I don't think there's anything confusing there.
Nothing confusing at all. So now you might have seen this clip. Now I actually want to explain what I believe the answer is to this question, okay? You guys are cool if we dive in? Now this is what he should have said. And then we're gonna go a little bit further, how to explain, we have $36 trillion of national debt. How does that even make sense? And how does like bonds work with debt in a country? And why is that maybe even a good thing? Because as you can tell, he is just discovering this. Like, man, if we can print the money, why are we even paying taxes? We can just print more money. We're already in debt. Like, how does this all make sense? And I'm gonna give you an economic theory on how this makes sense, at least in my brain. We'll dive in. I could be totally wrong, but this is, anyways, poke holes in the comments if you'd like. But I'd love to, this is how I make sense of the world. So first off, let's dive in. How a government raises capital or raises money, any government. A government will usually sell bonds, which is just pieces of paper, to people or other countries in exchange for money. The money comes in, the government raises the money comes into the government, and the people over here hold these pieces of paper that are bonds that say the government will pay you back one day on those bonds. That's generally how this works. You can just call it national debt as well. Sometimes there's private deals, countries do, but almost always it's through the bond format. But you can do this to other countries. We've done this to the tune, again, of $36 trillion. Now, the question on the screen was, well, if the US government prints the world reserve currency, why even do this? Why would you even ever raise money from outside people? You could just print more of your dollars, okay? Now, it's a good question. You maybe could do that, but I don't think you would want to. If you and me ran the world reserve currency, we would actually want to have national debt. Let me explain why. You have to think of the dollar as an export. We export dollars. The US government prints 1 trillion of them. And people like me and you will work 80 hours a week to get more of them. There's a few reasons for this. We have other videos that dive into this. And also, my dad and my brother and I co-authored this book called Dollars, Gold, and Bitcoin that dives into all of this and how to make sense of the world. But let me give you a piece of it right here. I'll put this book here, okay? So with the national debt, the dollar, 36 trillion is held by people or other countries. Okay, that's a lot of money. They want to get paid back on those dollars. The debt is not owed in barrels of oil or bushels of wheat or bitcoins or euros. It is owed in US dollars. So there's a lot of rhetoric around the world right now. The dollar is dying. The dollar is dead. BRICS nations are coming together trying to decouple from the dollar. Well, guess what? When you have $36 trillion of national debt, it makes the dollar very sticky to the entire global economy. For example, if tomorrow the dollar crashed to zero, dollar was worth nothing just in one day to the next, which I don't believe could happen because the world would essentially have to take a $36 trillion haircut. They would lose all that money that they gave the US government would be just gone. Poof, gone. And we paid for aircraft carriers, the most powerful military the world has ever seen. All of the stuff we paid for was essentially just given to us for free. So if you're a country like France or India or South Africa, you maybe like India, for example, or the BRICS nations, they want to get off the US dollar, but they can't. Because if they did, they would take for example, if you're China and you hold $1 trillion of US treasuries, 1 trillion of US treasuries, you have to take $1 trillion loss if you're going to get off the dollar. Okay? Interesting. It makes us sticky to other countries. Now, is 36 trillion a lot? Yes, it is. Maybe a healthier number would be 10 trillion or 50. I don't know the exact number. And maybe it could be 100 trillion. Who knows? What this does, though, it makes it sticky. We send them interest payments. Every month or quarter or year, we send interest payments. France or Spain or whoever holds the debt, they want to make sure those interest payments actually are worth something, right? When they receive dollars from us, they want to make those dollars worth something. So they want the dollar to be strong as well. See how this makes sense? Now, I don't know if an economic advisor would tell you this. This is the plan, but this is what is happening in real time. Now, let me go one step further. For example, this is in 2022, China, 2021, 2022, China was really trying to get off the US dollar. They were saying, we want to trade oil, large amounts of oil, not using US dollars. Since the Bretton Woods Agreement, we have essentially agreed. If you're wondering, like, why do we police the world? Well, since the Bretton Woods Agreement, right after World War II, all the countries came together and we essentially said, we will police the world. We will pay for a navy. Our navy is the largest, most powerful navy the world has ever seen. Our navy by itself would defeat the entire world combined navy. I mean, that's how powerful it is. It's the only global navy on Earth, okay? We have 11 super carriers, which are super aircraft carriers. These things are massive. They're powered by 2 nuclear power plants. One aircraft carrier by itself would be the 3rd most powerful air force on planet Earth. Okay, that's how powerful aircraft carriers are. We have 11. The combined world has about 3 of power. It's insane, okay, how powerful our Navy is. So, for example, when we don't like something, we park an aircraft carrier there, and usually things calm down. When there was a China saying they're going to take over Taiwan, we parked 2 aircraft carriers in the region. I believe actually we put a 3rd at the last second, then they backed off. We put an aircraft carrier in Israel with Hamas and Gaza, okay? We parked an aircraft carrier in the Red Sea to protect shipping lanes, okay? This is why we do this, because people use our currency, okay? So, for example, back 2021, China wants to get off the dollar. They hold, let's just call it $1 trillion of treasuries. And so what do? The Federal Reserve comes out and says, hey, inflation is transitory. Inflation is transitory, right? You remember this? Inflation is transitory. It'll just come, it's going to work itself out. And then we go, oh crap. We need to raise rates at the fastest rate in history, all the way up to 5.25, okay? What this does, this has a direct relationship with bonds. When you raise rates that fast, it devalues bonds roughly 50%. Devaluation in bonds, because yields go up. There's an inverse relationship with yields and bond prices. So yields go up to 5.25%, bond prices go down. So for example, if you're China and you had $1 trillion, if you sold it before they're mature, if you're sold before the bonds are up or due, they're worth about $500 billion. So you can't sell your bonds. Again, is the US government just lucky or was this planned? I don't know. China says, crap, we can't sell our bonds now because we're going to take a huge haircut on these. We'll just, I guess, okay, fine. We'll just keep collecting interest payments from these bonds. Okay, I guess that'll work. Additionally, this has squeezed China's economy like crazy. Goldman Sachs just put out a report that every single public developer in China for real estate is currently in default. Every one of them that they know. Youth unemployment is so high, China stopped reporting it the last 6 months. I mean, it is insane. China, some people are calling it an economic collapse that's going on in China. Again, are we just lucky? If you pull up, I know people in the comments, the dollar's dead though, people are getting off of it. Well, really? They actually have an index called the DXY. What if I told you the dollar is up? First off, you'd be surprised. But what if I said the dollar is up 15%? The dollar is up 15% over the last 3 years compared to other currencies. Now I know people in the comments, the dollar's dead, we have national debt, all this crazy stuff. The last analogy I'm going to leave you with, my dad puts this in his book right here. And again, grab the book. My dad is a co-founder of a deca-billion-dollar family of funds, incredible human being. He uses this, he calls it the dumb waiter analogy. So let's say we all work at a restaurant, okay? And Bridger's just dumb. I'm just an idiot. I'm bad with math, okay? So my math skills just aren't very good. We're all waiters and we do the change. So people give us dollars and we have to give them change back. And Bridger is always messing up the math. And you guys all come together and you do an audit on the last 100 transactions that I have done. Well, statistically, it should be about 50% are in favor of the customer and 50% are in favor of Bridger, right? If I really was bad at math. But you do an audit and you figure out that 96% of the change is in favor of Bridger. And 4% was in favor of the customer. And you go, huh, interesting. Is Bridger really bad at math? Is he dumb? Or are we dumb for believing Bridger that he was bad at math? Now, we have some longer videos that go into this, but the government, I know they sound like idiots. Trump, Biden, Powell, you name it. This person we just watched, they sound like idiots. And I totally agree. And people like us go on Twitter, we're like, oh, they're so dumb. Watch the game they are playing. They're actually playing an incredibly strategigive game. Things that don't make sense. Sending $100 billion to Ukraine, shutting off the Keystone pipeline. Okay, there's different, and we don't have time in this video to dive in. They tend to make sense if you plug in the US dollar and how it benefits the dollar. And the result has been, yes, we've had inflation, but compared to other currencies, the dollar is up 15%. The dollar has crushed. When we have a large national debt, it ties us to other countries. They cannot, even if they wanted to, they can't get off the dollar. Because we have the largest, most powerful navy in the world. We have a currency that they're all indebted denominated in the currency. They can't get off it even if they'd want to. And the dollar is up 15% in the last 3 years against other currencies. So with that, check out other videos. Get the book, Dollars, Gold, and Bitcoin. Hopefully that helps you make sense. And I wish he would have had that explanation on this interview. But anyways, I digress. I believe this is what's going on.